points. Sorry. But anyway, I'm so honored to be here with Gabrielle and Kat. I love these two women and I love this book. Okay. Thank God that we have people like Gabrielle who are scratching the surface at stories and exposing the truth to the rest of us, because I think that as our host was just saying, you know, in a time where there are so many followers and we have something like the internet, you know, it's just easy to get tricked. And that's pretty much what this entire book is about. But even pre-internet, and Gabrielle, you kind of go into it a little, I think you mentioned a few cult leaders. It's not like people following other people is something new. It's just that now there's new formats, new ways of doing it. And I think that that's, you know, how people like Billy McFarland can, you know, scam people for millions and millions of dollars. And honestly, what this book is making me think about, it's kind of like making me question everything that I believed. Because in my mind, well, first of all, I never knew that Uber didn't make a profit. Okay, I didn't know that. I had no idea. You know, it's kind of crazy. I mean, Adam Newman, I knew a bit about because I was following the story of WeWork, but still in my mind, I'm like, wow, he's a visionary. He's this genius, this guy that has these amazing ideas. This is why he's a billionaire. But actually, his idea was not anything new. And I think that also, like, just you know, I mean, this week we've had some scandals on Bravo. Cannot really get too deep into that. We've also, I know Khloe Kardashian's trying to scrub a photo of herself off the internet, which I didn't even know was possible, because she doesn't look like an Instagram bot in that photo. Maybe I'm a scammer. Maybe I'm a scammer also.
Leah, I've known you a long time. You've been the same from day one. And that's what everyone who actually knows you respects about you. This pitch has been the same from day one.
No, but you know what I mean? Gabrielle, the book is really making me think about my own way that I present myself on Instagram, because I'm not putting how I look when I wake up in the morning on Instagram. Hello, it took me 2 hours to get ready tonight. You know what I mean? No one's seeing that. No one's seeing who posts that shit. Barely anyone. So that's my opener.
Yeah, no, writing the book made me re-examine my own social media use and like what kind of image I'm trying to portray and what image I'm actually portraying and why anyone would waste all this time on that. Like, I think to a certain degree there is this allure of building your own legend, of like creating your own personality resume. But there is like an extreme end of the spectrum where like nobody actually really knows what Khloe Kardashian really looks like. And when that happens, when the unedited picture goes out, like they're threatening to sue all these like random Reddit users and bloggers just to keep that image going. I saw today that they also announced that Kim is officially a billionaire. Forbes decided this, despite the fact that Forbes decided 2 years ago that Kylie was a billionaire, and then turned around and accused her of submitting fake tax documents because it was so important to this family to be portrayed this way in a magazine. So there really is a spectrum, but I think it permeates. I mean, I have like 1,500 followers on Instagram and I still feel that pressure. I can't imagine what it must be like to have like a real audience that you're in charge of telling them who you are.
Yeah,
Can I just say that Kim Kardashian is a pathological liar? She's addicted to lying. That's her weakness. Everyone thinks she's like, and she is. This is a cold-blooded woman. Like, with all due respect, she got it from her father, I'm sure, who defended a murderer and lied for him. There's nothing. She is addicted to lying. That's her weakness. I hope it's her downfall. She keeps it all on lock. She bullies people through the legal system. Like, you can just tell. And I don't believe anything. You want to talk about fucking scammers? I didn't believe that fucking robbery. I think she's only had one biological child. Like, I didn't believe the second pregnancy. And nobody went with my conspiracy theories. She's the original scammer. But
wow.
that being said, I knew that she was going to be a billionaire too. When Skims came out, I was like, this is on you people. If she becomes a billionaire, it's on you. It's fine.
Whatever.
I just feel like she
I
lost.
bought Skims. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I
know.
did that. It's a great product.
I've been buying used Victoria's Secret pajamas on eBay. It's disgusting. I'm addicted to it.
But you know, I think there's something interesting about why she, and like obviously a lot of this is Kris Jenner's, you know, behind the scenes meddling, but why she is like has captured such an audience. I mean, they're the most followed people on social media. They're like extremely good at maintaining an audience. And so I think part of it is, I don't know, I think that like the reality show probably is part of it. And even that is a scam. Like the houses that they show are not the actual houses that they live in. Like everything we think we know about them, you know, they're in our living room. We feel like they're our friends. Like that's kind of a natural psychological reaction. But a lot of it, it's mostly, you know, fiction, pure fiction.
Wait, hold on. They don't film in their actual homes?
They film inside their homes, but the exterior shots that they show are completely different people's houses.
Okay, got it. I've actually never watched.
Kim wants to push the top.
I've never watched one full episode before. I've never followed any of them like on Instagram or anything like that because why would I want to make myself feel so depressed, you know? And I just didn't. I never understood like the interest or whatever. But yeah, maybe they're kind of con artists. but again, like what Kat was saying, it's our fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's our fault. Like we made them, right?
Yeah.
As a society, we made them billionaires.
Yeah. Well, I saw
Kim Kardashian is Hitler. We let her rise, but I won't say that.
I saw a really good TikTok that was like, in the wake of GameStop, you know, if you want to take power away from them, all we have to do is unfollow them. Like their money would go away. Like it's our attention that they're making money off of. Like that's kind of the insidious part. Like they're selling us to advertisers and to companies, like our eyeballs.
Well, then it's fair and square.
Well, I do think that if you
Kat, your
it's
connection.
supposed to give a little bit of money away now.
Your connection is like a little weird. I didn't hear you.
Maybe it's better.
Sorry.
Anyway, enough about the Kardashians. Oh, I want to say congratulations. I'm so proud of you. I know it is a long, horrible road to holding this in our hands, and it is a big day for you. And congratulations.
Thanks.
I'm glad that Leah's writing was shouted out. I believe that her article, Toxic Femininity, was one of the most important things to be published by a female in our time. And she said everything that—
They're still trying to cancel me over it.
They're still trying to cancel you?
I think so.
Never. I won't let them. If anyone's trying to cancel Leah McSweeney, they come through me.
Thank you.
This is New York media. This is New York people. This person is uncancelable. I've seen some of this stuff. What, you publish them on the Federalist or something?
I mean, I've never written for them.
Oh yeah, never mind. Take it back. Leah's the best. Our Dirty 30 birthday party was the stuff of legends.
It was
and
amazing. It was
I want to hear more about this.
But again, congratulations. And yeah, the internet is a weird place. I got my career at a time when it was really changing, and I barely, I became internet famous. But for me, I keep a pretty small world. I'm not someone who's good at branding. I'm not someone who's good at pairing up with other people. People send me clothes, they hit me up to send me free stuff, and I'm like, I shut down. Like the second it's in my house, I'm like, oh God, it hangs over me for months that I have to then post it, and I feel guilty, and then I'm like, this just isn't. It's certain different personality types, and so not to go back to Kardashians, but they're the biggest example of that kind of fame. I think it's when you get fame, you see if you're really that kind of person that's meant for it, and what parts of it you're going to retreat from and what parts of it you're going to be there for. Like someone like Rob Kardashian clearly wasn't up for it. Kourtney Kardashian doesn't seem to be up for it. Like she's shutting down. Kim Kardashian is a cyborg, like I've said. She's cold-blooded. she deserves to be famous. If you want to do that makeup chair thing, if you want to kiss fashion ass all the time, like she's like obsessed with sitting in those fashion shit, like she loves it. Those people will really go far. And but I've been looking a lot at people like Britney.
Oh my God, I was just gonna say Britney. This is why Britney, like Britney is she's a pure soul. That's why she does not handle this world well, because it is a fake motherfucking bullshit world.
Yeah.
But I'm also really curious about whether it's actually Britney posting or not, because I've seen like legal documents that refer to her not having control of her social media, but then through her, like her team will say it's her, but who's actually hiring. It's like very trying to navigate what comments are actually coming from her as a fan is very taxing.
Yeah, it is. I still don't know if it's, I mean, she's obviously like, but she does, but you know what? She does the videos where she's talking to the camera. So she's doing that. What, someone's making her do that? I don't think so. I mean, her husband seems to have her best, or not her husband, her boyfriend seems to have her best interests, but
Yeah, he's hot.
But you know what really, yeah, he's really hot. But you know what, Gabrielle, and to get off this Kardashian thing, even we could go back to them, I don't care. But I think that the like the WeWorks and the Theranos and Uber and DoorDash and these tech startups that are being evaluated at billions and billions. Oh, Elon Musk, that's another one, because you're making me rethink it. I'm like, I fucking love him. He's so great. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm a basic ass bitch if I'm thinking that. Like, I should listen to Azealia Banks, who's been telling me, no, he's not a motherfucking genius. He's, an asshole. And like, I mean, everything that he sends up to space blows up anyway.
Yes.
And he said all those nasty things. He said all those nasty things about the guy that went to rescue those boys that were in the cave. That was fucked up.
That was fucked up. And then he makes all his wives go blonde and blonder.
Yeah. But that was one of the interesting things to me in like researching the book was I talked to a tech reporter who was like a contractor at a popular tech site when that was like really big, when like the science Facebook pages were really big, like I fucking love science and all of that. And basically like his job was to write complimentary stories about Elon Musk. Like he was told straight up, like, our audience likes him, we only want positive stuff. And he was not in a position to take an editorial stand. So, he wrote those pieces and watched as Elon was made into this kind of cult figure who's not representative at all of how Elon actually does business. And I actually think that's like an interesting segue maybe into like the way that corporations and influencers present themselves on social media having absolutely nothing to do with how they actually do business, whether it's taking social justice stands while having like an all-white board and an all-white executive setup, or I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought here, but I don't know. I find all of it kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw a lot of companies posting black squares, but I'm like, if you really want to do something, like move like your fucking corporate office out of like bumblefuck white wherever it is, and like hire some fucking black people like to be at the top of the company, like instead of passing them over for promotions and shit. So that was really corny.
I think you see it like with Danielle Bernstein too, who's gotten in a lot of trouble for stealing from small businesses. But if you were just to look at her social media, she's promoting small businesses and promoting her own brand and taking you through the steps of how she designs dresses that look substantially similar to other dresses that have been lent to her in the past. Like you kind of see how the sausage is made almost.
I love when you described going to her like apartment and how her, it was like the perfect mid-century modern like Soho, and like there were assistants there with like designer water. It's like, damn, I want my apartment to look like that, but then I'm like, no, I don't. That's like lame.
Well, I think that like leads into something I really wanted to talk about, which is like FOMO and how much we're all feeling it and kind of what bad paths it can take us down. Like, have you guys had experience with FOMO? What do you think about?
I mean, honestly, I'm like such a fucking antisocial bitch, and I know Kat is too. Me and her are the same in that sense, right, Kat? Like we
Yeah.
could be extroverts. I mean, you're even more introverted than I am, but I like being like alone. Like I see people like at parties on Instagram. I'm like, I'm so happy. I'm like in bed right now. But and like obviously lately, like the last like year and a half, I think I get more like not FOMO, but I definitely will see like someone's body and be like, why isn't my stomach like that? Or like I see like someone's like, you know, maybe business doing so well, and I'm like, oh, why did they get that collaboration? I didn't. Like, you know, of course, how can you not think that stuff when you're constantly seeing everything at its absolute best, exaggerated most, and it's not even real.
Yeah, I used to get that before I traveled. I would get it with DJs in particular. Like I'd follow like Jillionaire people, like EDM people, and they'd go to like Greece to festivals. And you go, by the way, and you realize in the summer it's so hot, it's so horrible. It's like the worst conditions when you actually get to like Croatia, all the places I dreamt of going. I used to have this travel FOMO, and I'm like, ugh. Like I literally couldn't walk. It was so hot, and all these people were just strung out. But now I think I have FOMO. I'm more about, I feel like I've achieved so much. I don't have a lot of career stuff, but like, I mean, with babies right now, a lot of my friends having babies, and I don't even overtly want that, but I guess with that, for me, that's what's like making me feel bad now. Like not really bad, but that's the one thing that hurts me a little bit right now.
But you're gonna make me cry. That's so deep, Kat. I didn't even know that.
You know, I'm taking care of myself. Yeah. That's all right. I have my money tree. Isn't it flourish? Yeah.
Beautiful.
But no, I really love social media for a few things. As a writer, Twitter is, I know Leah, you're not on Twitter, but as a New York media person, connecting to people on Twitter has been very useful, very positive for me. Not a toxic place. I don't go on LinkedIn anymore. I guess I could, but Instagram, it's not so much. But I should do more. I know I should do more. I know I could make my numbers climb. I personally haven't done videos and live and more personal stuff, but I would like to. I should. But again, I can't do the brand thing. I really am a writer. I wanted to be all these other things. Like when I got my career, I wanted to do this it girl thing, and it just isn't me. I have to keep it kind of small and focus on what I do well. And people who do that for social media will have more success. Even some like Caroline Calloway, she's made that her thing. I'll defend her a little bit, even if it might get me some enemies. There's a chapter about Caroline in the book, and I just want people to consider how overwhelming it is to take on these things that you don't know how to execute. Or if you're a young person, like when her career first happened, I think she was like 25, and to not be able to fulfill all of that can really take a psychological toll on you, especially if you're on Adderall or any of that stuff. And I just feel like there's a level of vitriol towards her. And I understand it because she is very nefarious, mischievous. And anytime she's nice to me, there's something snide. Days later, I'm like, hey, like I thought we were kind of like internet friends now. But I have empathy for, biting off more you can chew. And it's a very exciting time in your life. And there are people who are hurting others a lot worse in this world. Like she's ultimately hurting herself. I feel like there's the only other level of vitriol that I see is Lena Dunham gets it or did. And I got linked into a lot of that. When Lena's book came out and it was all about putting the pebbles in the vagina of her sister or something, people are obsessed with talking about that and bullying her for it. And I see a little of that just because I get links to these Reddit accounts. Caroline. So I just wanted to defend her just because there is a whole chapter about her in the book. But that being said, she shades me all the time. She like calls me old.
Kat, you are an it girl. Are you fucking kidding me?
It like the clown.
Stupid. You're an it girl, definitely an original it girl in my opinion.
100%. So I will say what interested me about Caroline's story was how closely it mimicked Billy McFarland's story. On a much smaller scale, obviously, but I thought it was more of a cultural thing. And I agree with you on the empathy front, but I do think it's also like a cultural thing where people are kind of encouraged to go big or go home, or they are encouraged to bite off more than they can chew, and they profit from it at other people's expense. And the fact that she had organized this tour at the same time that the Fyre Festival had gone viral, promising more in the same way that Billy McFarland had promised more than he was able to provide. Obviously, the money lost was on a much smaller scale, but it did seem to me like indicative of the same mindset and the same behavior.
It's true. I thought that food didn't look so bad. You should see the places where I travel. The tents or the food. I was like, that's where I was sleeping. I was doing Airbnb in El Salvador. You know what that's like?
Like for that beauty shambles.
Yeah, I did a $17 a night Airbnb in Cairo. Didn't even have water. It got turned off.
But what you were saying about Croatia also reminded me, when it comes to the Fyre Festival, I have a private theory, which is that if they had managed to get like a musical act on or some semblance of a festival, that everybody there would have pretended that they were having the time of their life. You would have never seen that social media meltdown. You would have seen people on the beach or posting ocean pictures, and they would have just pretended that it was great. I think that's like how people are nowadays. Even if you're having the worst time, you post a nice picture and you pretend it was fun.
That's right. What I thought was like so petty and kind of mean is when you talked about how like they basically canceled on Chantal Jeffries. I'm not even like I know the name. I can't really place her face right now, but because like she wasn't like an enough girl to be with the rest of the girls, I was just like, God damn.
Yeah,
it's a cruel world out there.
Very cruel. There was like a whole set of like B-list models that they had hired before, all the IMG girls. Like yeah, and they like put them on a separate island in a room, like a hotel where the rooms didn't lock, and just left them there. Like a lot of like casual misogyny and cruelty. They had all this investor money and they were just gonna spend it on whatever they wanted, and it's kind of wild where all that money went.
What about Ja Rule? What do we think about Ja Rule? Is he like, I couldn't figure out if he was like, kind of a casualty, like he didn't realize, but then he was at that one conference and he was going, there's a difference between false advertising and
fraud.
And fraud, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have a lot of love in my heart for Ja Rule.
Yeah.
I grew up on Ja Rule. Like, I still walk around being like, "Are you Ellie?" Like, he, like, Icon. Ironically, Icon is what his current company is. I think he got roped into an idea and maybe wasn't necessarily like smart enough to see through it, or didn't care enough. I don't think he was actually on the island when any of it went down. He just recently sold an NFT of a Fyre Festival oil painting for like $120,000. So he's doing okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. Excited to see what he does next. It's going to be something else. It's like,
is Billy
just on the verge?
Is Billy in jail right now?
Yes, Billy is in prison. Billy has had a wild ride in prison. He was originally sent to Otisville, which is a low security white collar prison. That's where Michael Cohen was sent around the same time. And that's where the situation served out his term for tax evasion. And it probably would have been a nice time, but he got caught with a recording device in his cell. And he claimed that it was because he needed it to write a book so that he could pay restitution to his victims faster. The book was apparently going to be called Prometheus, God of Fire. And so, unfortunately, he was put in solitary confinement and then sent to another prison in Ohio, which, no shade to Ohio, but, all his family and friends are in New York. And he's not, his family couldn't visit him anymore. And then they had one of the worst COVID outbreaks. It was so bad that the National Guard had to be called in. And so Billy caught COVID in prison. And then right after he got better, he launched a podcast from prison and then was put back in solitary confinement for doing that. I don't know if anyone's listened to the podcast. It's a lot more of the same stuff. But what I think is really interesting about it is he's now the influencer. Like, he's not in charge of it anymore. The podcast is run by this company called Notorious LLC that also operate hype houses in LA. They're very much controlling the influencer. And so when Billy was put back in solitary confinement, there was a New York Times article about it, and they were promoting the article about Billy being in solitary, like, our story is #1, higher than Joe Rogan, like higher than Kanye. And so that's kind of how he's being treated now. So it's kind of interesting how the roles were reversed there.
Interesting.
Speaking of hype house, you know, I only know about this because of my 13-year-old daughter, who is the one who put me on to, I had no idea who Charli D'Amelio was or anything like that, but I met her maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. My daughter, you know, was like, oh my God, look at Charli D'Amelio, she's so cool. And I like looked at her and I'm like, who's this? And I know she's like very young. I don't want to be like shit talking a teenager or anything, but I'm like, who the hell is this regular ass girl who's not an amazing dancer? I mean, she's just doing these weird little TikTok dances, nothing crazy, who has like 100 million followers. Like, who is this? And why do they have so many followers? I still don't understand it at all.
The scammy part of it is that the dances that she and Addison Rae and all those girls are famous for, they didn't make them up. Those were all made up by like some choreographers of color.
I didn't know that until I read your book, and it's in there. And she stole that renegade dance from another chick who probably does the dance a lot better than her, because, you know, it's not like I know she's like a trained dancer and I'm sure she's like very talented, but in terms of the TikTok dances, it's not like she's got some crazy, you know, rhythm or anything like that. I mean, I just really didn't understand it. I still don't. I know she was in the commercial, the Sabra hummus commercial during the
Super Bowl. Just getting my charger, 1 second.
And I'm sure she's a great person. I really don't want to talk badly about a 16-year-old or anything like that.
You come for her and it's on.
I'm not doing that. I'm not coming for Charli D'Amelio. I'm sure she's very nice.
Yeah.
I heard she is nice, by the way. I know someone who photographed her and her sister, and they said they're very nice. But it just it still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't really understand the TikTok world.
I feel like TikTok people have to be together. If you're on TikTok, you need a partner who is, because you can't be around it unless you're on it and you're into it. Otherwise, it's like, what are you doing? I'm trying to, you know, all the NBA players are on TikTok, so I try not to be judgmental.
Here's how I know I'm old, is that I watch all the TikToks on Instagram where other people post them.
Yeah. Well,
but what is like the antithesis of this, right? Because there's always like a reaction, like in the next generation or whatever, like that comes after. So what is like the reaction going to be towards this like super hyper superficial phony, you know, airbrushed everything influencer? I feel like it's almost like isn't the influencer kind of almost like obsolete, or not really, you know? But what is like the remedy? Like, what does the next generation do to, you know, to remedy this? Like, there always is, you know, the pendulum. Yeah. So I wonder what the next thing is.
I'm a little cynical about this. I feel like there is this new, or maybe not so new, but, you know, a reaction to it, which is to promote authenticity on social media, which ends up being almost as much bullshit as just being honest that you're presenting an image.
Completely. I mean, I say, like, if I do certain kinds of filters or something, you know, like on my Instagram, like I say, like, I try, and look, it's still like, well, I mean, I got 2 hours of makeup done and got a nose job and get skin treatments every week. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? Put that in every single, like, caption? Like, it's like, you can't, Instagram, it's the opposite of authenticity. So how the fuck are you supposed to be authentic on it? There's nothing authentic about it. It's exactly like what you talk about. It's a post. It's not supposed to be reality. Right?
But we're taking it as reality, and I'm very much guilty of this. Where like everything I see, I kind of believe on some level, And then if I go back and think about it, I'm like, okay, that like my friend recently taught me how a lot of the questions that influencers put in their stories they just send them themselves. I was like, no, I thought that was like, I see the screenshots. I thought it was so real. I'm like, no, it's all bullshit. Like nobody actually cares what your makeup routine is or like what your skincare routine is.
I have been looking a lot. I've been going down a lot of like furniture type of rabbit holes on Instagram and like furniture influencers or whoever they are. And I've noticed that, and they're all about aesthetic, everything, right? And like, so even they're like the latest, like, anti like stop Asian hate kind of stuff that they're posting is like color coordinated to the rest of their, it's just something, it's like, I get it. Like, why wouldn't you color coordinate it? But there's something like off about it also. I don't know.
Well, I think that goes back to what we were saying, where how the way people are presenting themselves has nothing to do with what it's actually like in real life. And that was something that definitely you saw over the summer, people who their only investment in like social issues seem to be posting really pretty graphics on their Instagram page.
I will say that I think that sometimes I do think there has to be a lot of this really extreme, annoying cancel culture, like as annoying as it is. Like, I don't think that Trump should have been taken off of Twitter or what's his name, InfoWar. I don't believe in taking people off, but for cancel culture, like, I think there has to be that far away. I mean, it's important because the internet is the first thing in my lifetime where people have really come down in a visible way against a lot of this institutionalized stuff. And we haven't,
Do you mean?
Pardon?
No, I'm just saying. So do you mean that like things have to go so extreme sometimes, like equal to like?
I think so. Even though it's annoying, like Me Too is annoying, but I'm thrilled.
So the thing is that got so like extreme, but like we also needed to like recenter things so that like there wasn't workplace. So certain things weren't, like things that were acceptable that shouldn't have been acceptable are now not acceptable, which is
right.
good. But
like very annoying, but in terms of internet, like it's really hard to say because I just think that this big elephant of the technological, the fact that I'm 38, I didn't have internet for like the first 10 years of my life. I still remember that world. These younger people don't know that, but it's like, who knows how things are going to change, because history before was, when we talk about, I always want to be like, oh, maybe arts will come back, or maybe like grungy things, or like rock and roll, or like, I don't really know if that's true. I love things to stay modern. I am encouraged by creativity. I think that people are finding, I've seen people who aren't creative at all finding themselves on TikTok in a way that they're making stuff and they never knew they could do that. And it's easy for me. I'm a creative in New York now, but when I was 25, like I didn't know I was creative. No one had ever told me that. I grew up in like a hardcore Republican household. Like, I was working at women's magazines, and like it didn't even occur to me that I could ever make anything. I would like sleep with artists and photographers and stuff downtown, but I was just like a girl who hooked up with artists. I never thought of that. And until the internet for me, yeah, I mean, I did. I was like, Leah knows people that I hooked up with. Some of them are married to some big celebrities at this point. But I never thought that I could be a cool artist like that. But it's really through the internet. Things like actually, and I have a Patreon now where I do comparable things. You're putting in the pictures, you're choosing your own fonts. This was stuff that was off limits. And so, there's going to be a lot of presentation, but a lot of it is editorial. People, I think an Instagram account, you're like, it's a natural edit because the magazines aren't important anymore. And so people do get to have their kind of skills, they're editing things and they're enjoying it. And so not all of it is nefarious. But that being said, there's a lot of eBay scammers. I'm getting a lot of fake, I tried to order some Halston Heritage. The things that showed up, I was like, what is this? It was like a mutant dress and it was not by Halston. There's lots of scammers out there, and we got to take them all down. Where's Anna Delvey? Where's Anna Delvey?
Where
And why is she coming for the writers on the internet? She's like, I'm better than all these writers with 4 editors. I'm like, is she talking to me? I'm like, 'cause I turned in my manuscript perfect, right? Leah, when are you gonna write your book? This is my book. Yeah, we now
love seeing them together. They go
now we
really
need this book. What?
it's coming.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I do have to say, I started writing on the internet. I started at Gawker in 2013, and you were an absolute icon, like at least in that world. I knew who you were like years before I met you. And actually, speaking of buying things on the internet, I almost bought I forgot what brand it was, but like an iconic mid-century modern table from you, and that was how we first met.
Oh.
From Kat?
From Kat, yeah.
It was a knockoff. It was a big white on white marble, and I was just trying to get rid of it because I couldn't move it when I was living in Tribeca. I love furniture as well. It was white on white. That's not around anymore. Yeah, Gawker was the place. You know, I actually started hanging out with Gawker because they were the people who investigated the scam. Everything was sus. People were I remember meeting up with AJ Delario, who had written up Leah in a nasty way. I remember that, Leah. How dare he? But the whole reason I met him
about the game, the Knicks game.
Something
No.
with you.
No, but he was coming to Married to the Mob parties. He was super cool.
Oh, then maybe. Oh, yeah, because of Bucky. Well, the whole reason I met him was because people would go and leak to Gawker that I was faking my age. So I had to like show up. I had to show him my ID. Be like, look, I'm really 29. Like ridiculous. But Gawker was always you guys had real. And I miss that site. Or that network. I guess, I mean, Jezebel's still there, but it was quite scary. And you guys really did take down the scammers. Gawker was a good website.
Oh, it's a great
Those were some quality long reads.
So,
But so I wonder about that too. Like, you know, print is dead. It seems like the blog is dead. I don't think anything like Gawker could ever exist again, which really depresses
the
me.
celebrity media thing really annoyed me. Like when, you know, for a while, when it was really fun when Us Weekly was out there really competing and they would take down a celebrity, they would put up a bad cover story. You know, it was Jan Wenner's. What is his company? I forget. But the now all the tabloids are owned by the same company, so none of it's real anymore. I mean, it wasn't ever real, but now you've just got People Magazine or like Media Takeout, and you're like, I don't know what this is all insane. Yeah, it's not as fun.
No, the internet is not fun anymore. There was a golden age, and I think it's past.
I've got a couple good, I hate to interrupt, but I've got a couple good questions from the chat for Gabrielle. Do you think there are more scammers? This is from T. Do you think there are more scammers because of the internet, or do you think that they have always existed, but we were less aware of them because things couldn't be exposed?
I think they've definitely always existed. There was a Fyre Festival in like the late 1700s or early 1800s. There was this guy, Gregor McGregor, who sold a bunch of bonds to people for a country that didn't exist and then loaded up boats of settlers to go there, and they, you know, perished on the journey because there was no destination. So this kind of thing has been happening forever. I think that scams are different now. They're assisted by the internet. I think definitely we're more aware of everything because we have a 24-hour news cycle, and there's so much, you know, everything is written about, and you can access it from your own home in a way that you never could before. But I think that social media in particular has enabled people to scam better because we are experiencing these emotions from what we're seeing. It makes us more vulnerable to it.
Arlene also asks, what's the next frontier of scams? Where will they happen? I mean, that's a big question. But
TikTok, maybe? Yeah, I don't know.
TikTok scamming.
Oh, maybe crypto. Maybe on like a crypto, like
Yeah.
there's gonna be crypto scamming. Crypto might be a whole scam. I mean, I think you talk about, or I don't know if you talked about it, but I've been reading somewhere. I think Azealia Banks is also talking about it. She's like, you know, her word is like gospel to me, but
Yeah, well, NFTs, like I'm not going to profess to fully understand them, but you're just buying a URL. Like the picture could be deleted from there. You're not really owning anything, so I really don't understand any of that. And if Ja Rule is involved, I'm naturally suspicious.
Tell you the future. Sorry.
Samara wants to know, do you think the it girl is still viable in the internet age? The idea of an it girl.
I'll let Kat take that one.
I'm done with white people. I'm sorry. I'm done with white people, including myself, including all of us. I love these non-white it girls, but especially in this book world, I know some things. I know some things about publishing. No disrespect to any of us. We've got another white woman publishing here. For books, you know, the internet is great because it has brought non-white people who are always the stars of pop culture anyway, up in a bigger way because they can't go through the institutions. Like you truly, the publishing world is way whiter than you think. It's Ivy League, it's all connected. Like my editors were from Harvard, Yale, like things. I'm like, how did you even get into Harvard? Like I would sometimes ask, and of course, you know, it's all tied together. These are white people in the book world. Like we need more book deals for Black people. Like, and that and in that way the it girl thing is but it girls will always be out there. Okay, you know, Jordan Woods, all these people. For publishing, we gotta fight for more representation. It's unacceptable. Gross. No offense on your pub day.
I think if you meet someone from Harvard, you should absolutely ask them, how did you get in? Like, why?
I know.
That's just an automatic question.
They got good grades. I'm like, I know, but like, what else did you do for people?
Who do you know? It's like the guy that goes up to, this is a TikToker. He goes up to people in nice cars and just goes, like, what's your job? How do you afford this? And it's really refreshing to watch.
Another question for Gabrielle. Why do you think people stay on Instagram and other social media when we know we are just being sold a product, or even that we are the product? What is it that keeps people on these channels?
Well, first of all, there's an entire science of addiction behind it. I mean, these apps are primed to keep you on them, to the point where, you know, The Social Dilemma, I think, did a really great job of kind of outlining how insidious the algorithm can be, and, you know, serving people more and more extremist videos and roping them in. And I think that explains like a lot of the rise of QAnon, and, you know, anti-vaxxers and COVID deniers, to the point where I actually tried to quit Instagram while writing this book, and I do detail that experience a little bit. I would pick up my phone and go to the app that had replaced it, and I'd be like, why am I, you know, opening this random app? And it was like not even, I wasn't even thinking about it. Like my body was doing it. So that was horrifying. And I'm definitely back on it. It is one of my highest screen time apps, and I wrote a book about it. So pretty bad.
Good question from Tess. I'm curious how we should be approaching these topics with the younger generation. How do we cultivate a strong sense of self and confidence when they're growing up in a world that is full of smoke and mirrors? I often have to remind myself that kids are coming of age in a world where social media is a given, and I can only imagine that can deeply blur the lines between what is real and what is fake. Is that something you touch on in the book?
I don't personally, but I'm curious what Leah thinks about that, raising a kid in this environment.
Yeah. My daughter's going to be 14 in 2 months, which is insane. But, you know, look, I can't, and I have like some friends whose, you know, kids just they don't have phones, or they don't, you know, it's like very extreme, and it's just not what I thought was best for her, because she's going to have to deal with it anyway, and it's a part of our life. I like to show my daughter, well, first of all, she doesn't post on Instagram. She's allowed to like be on it, but I don't let her put pictures of herself on it. You know, I like to show her the actual photos of celebrities versus the photo. You know, there's a lot of those Instagram accounts that like follow like and show like this is the person before they edited their picture, and this is it after, you know, to show her that everything she's seeing is complete bullshit. 100%, nothing is real on Instagram. And I just monitor like what she's looking at, and I try to instill, you know, the right values in her. And to a certain point, that's really all you can do, because this is the time we're living in, and I cannot hide her from it, even though I would love to.
Another question from earlier in the event. Does anyone have thoughts about whether Caroline Calloway's workshops would have succeeded? I guess that depends on what your idea of success is, but does anybody think they would have, or what do you think would have happened?
Well, I mean, I think if my memory serves correctly, she did hold like 2 or 3. I think if she had, you know, only sold what she could provide, we would never be talking about this. We wouldn't be here today. But the fact that it happened as the Fyre Festival happened, it went viral in a way that was like a national news story.
Yeah.
Also, we want to give a lot of credit always to these writers. I feel like these amazing stories come out and it just becomes about the subject, but really website, and you know, Gabby, you've done a lot of great reporting. These people at The Cut do fantastic stories that become iconic. And I always want to, and I know that, and they make some money off of it. They do when it gets turned into television or something, but so much of the people, including myself, you know, comes from a lot of great things that are written about them. And so it's on a day that we're celebrating your book being published. I always want to shout out the writers, especially, I mean, and also I guess for the Caroline thing, Natalie.
Yeah,
But
that's an excellent point.
By the way, I've only gotten so lured into the Caroline thing because she lured me into her life with her mind tricks. And she did. She's added me so many times. I know that. I have a fan personality too. I harass people online that I'm a big fan of at different times in my life. But I think because I come from a place of not so much being able to talk as well about WeWork or something, but from a messier person who's just like, here I am with this internet in front of me and everyone's paying attention to me. Like, how am I going to make this a thing? Even though, you know, there's all different ways to scam or not scam or to be doing this. But the real authenticity in the end is the work, and there's all different kinds of work. Show your work, you know, showing up and your character. I think people are fools to lie about much these days. I remember back on Jezebel and stuff, there was a real plagiarizing thing for a while. People were, Jezebel, I think it was just one site that I remember was always catching people plagiarizing, and I liked that. You know, it's good that all of this stuff happens. You learn from it. And I do wish people who lied got caught more. I don't mean to keep bringing up Kim Kardashian, but I would really like something to fall.
Do some investigating.
But if I had a daughter, I would be telling her, oh, we're not on that question anymore about the youth. I was just going to say, lead with your brain. And when you're on the media, lead with your brain. And also, I mean, that will take you the furthest. Nothing's wrong with showing off your body or you're playing aesthetics, but aesthetics, it's all part of it. But just like stay in your head, because no one's doing that great. You know, Leah and I have these big careers. I'm sure things could be better for us in a lot of ways. I don't fucking know, but it's not what you think. Sometimes career is the easiest thing. So I would say to anybody, this question wasn't asked, but I just want to put it out there, as someone who has this big career on the internet, like, that's my thing. And that means maybe everything else around me sucks. Personal life, you know, like whatever personal issues, and that's all there. But there's nothing wrong with leading with the thing that's your strength. You know, but that's what I try to do. If I put it all out there, it'd be very strange.
I also want to tack on to what you were saying. You're absolutely right about the writers. The reason that we know who Caroline Calloway is because a writer named Kaylee Donaldson did a wildly popular, viral, humorous thread tracking the planning and execution of these workshops. And if it weren't for her, I don't think any of us would have any idea who this girl was.
Well, Caroline is a force of nature. As you detail in your book, she lied and got into my agent's office in a way that I actually respect. I think a good way to look at it, I would tell everybody out there to read a little Andy Warhol, not sound like corny like Lady Gaga, but if you have a Warhol brain, you can appreciate any kind of fame and have a little humor about it. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm defending Caroline Calloway. She doesn't defend me. Anyway.
I think that might be all we have time for tonight, but this was an awful lot of fun. Thank you to the three of you for hosting, and thank you to everybody who tuned in.
Everybody buy this book. I'm so proud of my friend.
The link to buy it's in the chat. We've got it at all the stores. We can ship it to your house. We can do everything.
It's in Barnes & Noble in the window.
It is in the window, but it's in McNally as well.
Oh yeah. Oops. Sorry. I didn't know. I forgot. What do I know?
It's all right. We're partnering with Barnes and Noble for this version.
She's
I thought that
she's authentic. She's not here to be a commercial.
Wait.
McNally. She's here.
The Barnes and Noble event is at 8. It starts in 4 minutes. It's basically.
Wait. I thought McNally Jackson was a publishing house.
Rand McNally is. McNally Jackson's the bookstore in Soho.
I know. Oh. But I knew that, but I thought that it was like Penguin. But I live there. I walk by it every day. It's right by Soho Garden. All right, sorry.
Yes, exactly.
And the old doctor office. R.I.P.
Well, I really noticed that my book's never in the window of McNally Jackson.
Come to Brooklyn. Come to downtown Brooklyn.
Shots fired.
Thank
you, everybody. This was wonderful. Congratulations.
I'm gonna stop by Barnes & Noble later today. Just kidding. Such an idiot.
Love you, Kat. Love you, Gabrielle.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. There were so many people here. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Thank you everyone for coming. This was a very cool launch. A real honor.
All right. Bye.
Bye.